Alcott's Little Women were Meg, Jo, Beth, Amy, and Jess. I grew up, but I never grew out of it. So in 2005, when I began to study Torah, I entered the text the way that I would enter any good book, with my whole self. I fully inhabited its world. I formed relationships with its characters. And that is why I can stand before you today and say that I have had for some 8 years now a huge crush on Yitro. Yitro, that dark, mysterious Minnenite who walks right into this week's Torah portion and tells it like it is. My kind of guy. The truth is, I loved Yitro not because he was an international man of mystery with 7 names, but because he was honest with Moshe and supportive of him. Yitro truly sees Moshe as a leader, yes, but as a leader at a moment of intense vulnerability. Instead of judging Moshe, Yitro counsels him. Their relationship made me believe that Yitro could be honest and supportive of me too. It gave me the courage to let Yitro see me. Really see me as a scared 24-year-old at a moment of intense vulnerability. Instead of judging me, Yitro counseled me. He gave me the very same advice that he gave Moses. Ki chaved mincha hadavar. This thing that you're doing, it's really hard. Lo tuchal asoch levadecha. You can't do it alone. Surround yourself with anshe chayil, people of valor. So I studied, and Yitro was right. It really is hard. But I took his advice, and I surrounded myself with rabbis, and teachers, and friends. Anshe chayil in Jerusalem, and Stockholm, in Baltimore, go Ravens, and where are my Baltimore people at? And in New York. I couldn't do it alone, and I didn't have to. With your help, I entered the next chapter. Literally, it's the next chapter. And that is where we stand together today, with the Israelites at the foot of Mount Sinai. And what a day it is. Talk about weird weather. Vayehi kolot u'rachim, there is thunder and lightning, the kol shofar, chazak ma'od, and the booming of the shofar. Bahar Sinai, ashan kulo. The entire mountain is smoking. Vayecharad kol hahar, and the entire mountain is trembling. Not surprisingly, Vayecharad kol ha'am, the entire people are trembling too. Can you blame them? To fully inhabit the world of these verses is terrifying. And the interpretations of our medieval rabbinic scholars understandably focus on the thunder and the lightning, the booming and the quaking. Their preoccupation culminates in the 15th century when the commentator of our Ramel asks, Ech ya'otu hadvarim ha'ela lishma et dvar Hashem. How exactly are these special effects supposed to help the people hear the word of God? Well, I agree with the suspicion behind Abarbanel's question. They don't. The atmospheric turbulence is an expression of our emotional turbulence, not the cause of it. The Israelites aren't afraid of a little thunder and lightning. They are afraid of encountering God. After all, if they get too close to Mount Sinai, mot yamut, they will surely die. In fact, after the people have the surreal encounter of ro'im et hakalot, seeing the sounds, they say to Moshe, Zaber itai manu, we'll speak with you, but, I'll Zaber imanu Elokim. We don't really want to talk to God. Being afraid of God isn't just a Sinai problem. It's our problem. We famously learn in Midrash Tanchuma, Lama asher einenu po, lefi shehaneshemot hayu sham, va'adayin guf lo nivra. Why do we learn that the covenant at Sinai is made with those who were there and with those who were not there? Because our souls, yours and mine, were there, even though our bodies had not yet been created. We were there. We were at Sinai, and we can't take credit for the covenant if we're not willing to face the fear. This, I believe, is the hard work that Yitro prepared Moshe for. And it's the hard work that Yitro prepared me for. The work of being in relationship with God. And it is terrifying. So I started to think and talk a lot about fear and relationships. And many of these conversations were with my greatest teacher, my brother. He's a computer scientist, and he directed me to a social scientist, to the work of Dr. Brene Brown, a research professor at the University of Houston who studies fear and relationships. After 10 years and thousands of interviews about what causes and what keeps us from meaningful relationships, Brown identified one single difference between people who connect and people who don't. People who connect believe they are worthy of connection. Why is that so difficult for so many of us? Fear. We think it's because of our fear. It's not that we're afraid of God. We're afraid of ourselves. We are deeply afraid of who we are, because in order to connect, we have to allow ourselves to truly be seen. And what is more terrifying than being seen as the flawed, broken, imperfect people we all are? When we stand at Sinai, our fear of God is the emotional expression of our intense vulnerability. It's the very same fear that I felt when I came to the text 8 years ago. I felt unworthy of connection, just unworthy of all of this. I was scared. I was deeply afraid of who I was. And this is the fear I faced when I allowed Yitro to truly see me. And that was the first step towards facing the fear of being seen by God. This isn't a concept foreign to Jewish thought. This is Buber, who teaches I and thou. All actual life is encounter. And this is Heschel, who teaches that man thirsts for companionship, and though we cannot see God, we must seek to make ourselves visible to God. And this is Eisen, who, in addition to sitting right there, teaches that our relationship with God, which to the Torah matters more than anything else ever could, has become in our culture a matter about which we simply need never decide. Well, I'm asking you to decide. Decide to stand at Sinai. Decide to be seen. This is the real, justifiable fear of revelation. The Israelites aren't trembling because they're afraid of seeing God. The Israelites are trembling because they are afraid of what God is going to see when God sees them. Vayecharad kol ha'am, the entire people trembled. What if we stop reading kol ha'am quantitatively as the entire people and start reading it qualitatively as the entirety of the people, the whole self of each individual? Kol ha'am, the sum of our humanity, is present at Sinai. אמר רבי שמעון בן חלפתא, אם אין אדם מגלה עצמו על דברי תורה, אינו לומד תורה לעולם. If one does not reveal herself to Torah, she will never learn it. If we remain afraid of the revelation of self, we will never truly be present for the revelation of God. My revelation of self began with a Midianite priest named Yitro. Where will you stand for yours? Start by standing kol ha'am, as the sum of your humanity, in the spaces where it feels actually the most uncomfortable to do so. A synagogue, maybe? A classroom, or nature, or your very own living room. Feel the fear. It's really hard. It's really hard. Pray with the congregation more than once or twice a year. Feel the fear of not knowing every word. Stand in the delivery rooms and the nurseries and the bedrooms of your children. Feel the fear of saying, I don't know, but I'm going to do the very best I can. Go on yet another date. Feel the fear of waiting for the right partner, with no guarantee that you will find them. Sit in the presence of that partner and feel the fear of saying, I love you, first. Sit in the presence of that partner years later and feel the fear of saying, I love you, still. This is revelation. Our relationship with God begins in these very moments of intense vulnerability. We can do it. We are enough. God actually tells us so. V'yitam li segula, you are my treasure. You are worthy of this. We can decide to stand at Sinai. It's not easy. It's very scary. It takes work every single day. The inner work of accepting our fear, even as we cultivate the belief that we are worthy of connection. And the outer work of acknowledging the fear in the other, of seeing him and connecting with her as human partners in the divine project of leaving this world just a little bit more like Gan Eden than we found it. I call that work Judaism, and I look forward to doing it with you.
Kaddish de Rabbanan.